I believe that Sampo is working with Asat Pramad. Sampo is a long-awaited character for many Star Rail fans. He originally released at the time of the game's very first version and has been the point of main contention of theories for 4 years now. These theories have been a large staple of his community. A few have been debunked as time goes on, and a few have been confirmed. It is common knowledge nowadays that Sampo is a masked fool following the path of elation. However, in the past when he was just as mysterious, some people said he must be a Stellaron hunter, an Eon in the skies, or trash can. Before I delve deeper, I'd like to give a general summary of all confirmed information of Sampo Koski. Sampo originally released as a Belobog character, and is known as a notorious scammer, frequently disguising himself as others to trick people. His most common disguise being a fake woman called Madame Bugel Poisson, a man who knows when to show up and when to disappear, or, in his own words, retreat behind the curtain. He showcases both selfless and selfish behavior, donating supplies to the underworld while robbing the overworld blind. As a masked fool, his main goal is giving elation to everyone else. He recently appeared in Planarcadia 4.0 to retrieve his mask from the tavern, sticking around to assist the Trailblazer before leaving. Fans were both happy and saddened at his appearance, as he hasn't returned since, making his earlier presence seem like a guest appearance. Fans can openly admit how odd his short presence was, as it raises many questions. Why was he there? He could have gone to get his mask at any time, as he was informed of its presence before the beginning of the Penacony story. Waiting that long is incredibly strange, since it renders Sparkle's point of leaving the mask for him to grab null, as when he goes to get it, she's there too. However, the Star Rail developers are not ones to do things without reason, and Chekhov's gun is a common literature device for a reason, leading me to my theory that he is in fact on Planarcadia on purpose and never left. In a scene within version 4.2, Silverwolf threatens Asat Pramad using the words hunter and prey. Instead of responding to the threat, Asat is reminded of a friend of his, a master at inspiring others. This so-called friend is, by Asat's own words, very similar to him, having the same goal and likely method. He then continues on, including mentioning one reality where they win together, and convince Silverwolf to join them. We can disregard the part about Silverwolf as it was only said as a way to get under her skin, but we're left with the unknown identity of said friend. I am under the belief that Asat does see this person genuinely as a friend, and not just a pawn. However, I do not find this being reciprocated a likely outcome. Let's go back. What reminds Asat of his friend is the mention of hunters and prey. There is a certain playable character with a light cone following that exact plotline. Sampo. Sampo is an Nihility character released at the very beginning of the game, and he carries many yet to be resolved mysteries. As a masked fool, Sampo is expected to have a big story presence on the planet of elation. This is only reinforced by his near-confirmed emanator status, due to the rating gun, commonly appearing alongside other emanators, and his mysterious past. Though his path is likely elation, there is no confirmation. So, where is he, if not on the planet of elation, a hot pot of emanator? In Planarcadia, hiding in the curtains. Eyes of Prey details the perspective of a hired sniper tasked with assassinating Sampo. Our unreliable narrator details the wealth surrounding a greedy, oblivious man, tossing money around like it's nothing. The sniper prepares to take the shot before Sampo calls out to him. It's revealed that Sampo was in fact the hunter, and the prey was the sniper. Sampo proceeds to bribe the sniper, and the light cone story ends. Get away from that situation showcases incredible foresight and charisma, being able to worm himself out of situations. He has several voice lines emphasizing this skill of his, both showcasing his ability to talk the talk and, overall, maximize profits. He's described as a silver-tongued salesman and the go-to man for information, though this description brings up a new feature of his: betrayal. Customers are able to become commodities if he stands to gain from it. He is not loyal to customers, he is loyal to profits. Within a voice line with Sparkle, he establishes a well-known rule of no backstabbing. I'd like to argue this rule is not in fact a jab at Sparkle, but a rule meant to keep himself in check. While Sparkle is impersonating Sampo, you receive a few curios, one of which describes the moment of backstabbing someone and remembering how their victim reacted. By his own words, the customer is king, and for me to betray the king, you've got to make it worth my while. Case in point, loyalty as long as there is profit. There is one big exception: friends. Sampo is a very loyal person when it comes to friends, and most likely family too. He is shown willing to wave away profit from business if it'll benefit a friend, either monetarily or emotionally. We see this in the Trailblazer, Hook, Steel, Natasha, the underworld as a whole. If his allegiance has been won outside of trade, he cannot be swayed or bought. Sampo does not care about his clients, not even a tiny bit, but he cares deeply for his friends, to the point of being risky, being reckless. I theorize he is taking part in an insanely risky plan, all for the sake of winning, or otherwise known as protecting his friends. And in official artwork he is showcased with two other characters, Acheron and Luacha. Both of these characters have something in common: lying. While covering their current allegiance or organization, they either claim or are assumed part of a different faction. Everyone knows of Acheron's honorary Galaxy Ranger status. Sampo, taking it one step further, is tricking a Lord Ravager, taking the disguise of destroying Elation while protecting it. And in this theory explanation, I'll be attempting to convince you of this. Sampo's main design inspiration was snakes. Snakes are known as being associated with trickery, lies, and deceit. Being called a snake is a form of insult due to its negative connotations. Janus, the god of pathways, also associated with snakes, has fun parallels with Sampo, due to his ability to appear anywhere and everywhere, including the Lafu, where he scared them into thinking there was a bomb threat. Disguises and false identity are nothing new to Sampo either, as his character stories detail a false identity known as Madame Bruegel Poisson. His persona is referenced in the light cone It's Showtime, where he's referred to as the fish, as Poisson translates to fish in French. And really, how surprising would it be for him to contain another hidden identity? Being grouped with Luacha and Acheron, two characters who are both emanators or theorized to be, and are living in disguise, both as a traveler or Galaxy Ranger. Sampo appearing with them is not only fitting, but reinforces his likely reappearance, where his hidden identity is further revealed. Silverwolf, again in her confrontation with Asat, questions any aces in his sleeves. While this is a throwaway comment, I'd like to bring your attention back to Asat's appearance in Planarcadia, where he holds several cards with masks on them. The exact same cards are held by a Sampo dressed up as Sparksy, or vice versa. And Sampo in his BP outfit, labeled Versatile Joker. Sampo is related to Jokers often, including inside the Honkai Impact III collab, where red and black jokers are referred to as big and small Sampos. Jokers also represent in this circumstance a trump card, with his BP description reinforcing this as calling it the last card in the deck. Another perspective of the Joker is opposites or contradictions. A common trope surrounding him is hate and love, a trope that is relevant inside Planarcadia, as referenced by Nameless Wispay, Star of Helpfulness. Love and hate share the same trigger. Star of Steadfastness also mentions love as a concept, coincidentally giving cold jokes as a reward, which are theorized to be a tale about Sampo, an expert who mastered cold jokes only to accidentally freeze someone to death before fleeing the tavern. Sounds like a certain Mr. Cold feat. What I'm sure at least a few of you are thinking is why? Why would Sampo, a character who is known to be cautious and controlled, decide to do something so risky? And for what purpose? The answer is both heartfelt and sincere and complicated. The short answer? Because he wishes that everyone can have their every wishes fulfilled. This can be found in the finished tale that inspired his character's creation, Kavala, or more specifically, the Sampo. People and their well-being matter to him, and he finds no joy in anyone being harmed, especially not his friends, as we've already stated. Asat Pramad is a Lord Ravager, one who is known to be so meticulous and deadly that his schemes are in the works for many years before the first action is ever formally taken. He leaves dead lands, debris and detritus, and he's had his gaze set on Planarcadia for a long time. It was his assault that led to Graphia creating Imagine. Sampo, as we've seen when it comes to Bellabog, cannot look away when people he cares about are in danger. The tavern, however distantly, qualifies, as does Sparkle, Sparksy, Giovanni, Zhongshan, Trailblazer, the Express. What else is Sampo to do but protect his valued customers? All of this considered, and the rest to be added shortly, I have two theories. 1. Sampo is going to betray Asat Pramad. 2. Asat Pramad is a mask of Sampos. Sampo and Asat Pramad have many similarities, especially when it comes to their philosophy of the world. Both disagree with the current system of elation, where harmful pranks and psychological torture is viewed as peak elation. The public viewing elation through a self-serving narcissistic lens. Sampo has publicly shared his distaste for those people, as well as enlightening the audience that so does Sparkle, which renders their friendship more understandable. Asat Pramad, however, hated elation so much he became an emanation of destruction, hell-bent on destroying a half permanently, as well as the path of elation. This is a far cry from Sampo's moderation or limitation. However, he has started to speak more negatively of elation during his rare screen time, which could be a way of convincing Asat Pramad of his loyalty. There are a few other smaller but just as notable similarities, such as a predisposition to prefer carefully scheduled events when it comes to business, using much more methodical styles, or a preference to remain behind the curtains, disliking taking center stage. Both of them have talked about their preferred stage setting, or perhaps a want to fulfill wishes, however twisted or cruel. Sampo, of course, believes in everyone being happy without it coming at others' misfortune. He has very careful standards when it comes to wishes. It was due to him that the Holy Grail War happened, and it was his own heartfelt wish that ended the affair. The confirmed restarting of the war in 4.4 only adds more suspicion. Asat Pramad decided to grant Full Wish her wish, knowing exactly what the price would be and knowing the hardship down the line. Or, such as Cosmicon Collective. Asat Pramad promotes and compliments the game, saying he prefers it above others. Sampo is the creator of this card game who created it based off what he believed humanity needed: certainty. Both of them revolve around certainty as a concept. Certainty is viewed as the opposite of elation, something uninspired and boring. As the curio die belonging to Asat Pramad describes, the act of a dice always landing on the exact same result would be so boring there was no room for elation or chance. Certainty is a monotonous life in his view, something that stifles and therefore allows him to thrive. Sampo sees certainty differently. Certainty to him is knowing that there is food in the fridge, that the daily run is always at the exact same time for the exact same distance. Quiet comforts that give life stability within the chaos of life. He views it as a necessity for all humans and has worked to intervene when he saw this certainty being threatened. He alternately believes that relying on certainty to an unhealthy amount is harmful, but the outcome does not matter as much as the quiet moments in between. Sampo seems to be the synonym for healthy, while Asat Pramad is the antonym. Sampo also more frequently has brought up destruction enough times to become suspicious. The Nook was a central piece during his pitch of explaining the mechanics of Cosmicon Collective, claiming that a pressure cooker could defeat them, and would therefore be stronger by the terms of the game. He also, in a background conversation with Sparkle, gives insight into the Lord Ravengers and how they recruit, bringing them as rather strict and picky. Most characters know nothing of the Lord Ravengers, or perhaps only substantial knowledge of one in particular. Sampo shouldn't be one of them, yet he is, lending credence to his connection to Asat Pramad. Within a Bellabog readable, an antique collector describes an article revolving around a few metal blocks meant to be pieced together. The article is a story from the old world before the freeze, but is quite relevant to the present. There was a king whose people betrayed him. However, a loyal wizard sealed his soul inside a few metal blocks to protect him from the people's rage. If the blocks were to be pieced together, the king would possess the person and go on a vengeful expedition. The story doesn't hold much relevance at first glance, but I like to reframe the story. Now, imagine the blocks as masks, a person's identity split between many masks, which need to be combined in the end. At the end of the readable, it is said that someone put it together behind the author's back, leaving without a trace. I'd like to say that person in question is Sampo. It seems in line with his past behaviors, especially as he assisted Sparkle and Sparksy combine. Two masks, or blocks, pieced back together. Or a scammer and a Lord Ravenger. With these pieces of evidence in mind, the arguments for the previous theories take shape. Betrayal is something we've already gone over, how it circles his narrative within every interaction. Betray the king, turn a customer into commodity, to take risks and protect his friends, to infiltrate and eliminate. Asat Pramad and Sampo are clearly two sides of the same coin, and they know it. It is shown in how they speak and act, while perhaps it is due to them literally being two sides of the same coin, reflected images in the glass. Asat Pramad being a discarded mask makes sense, the conclusion Sparkle has been leading us to all along. Asat Pramad quotes her again and again, her thousands of masks and her frequent abandonment, the existence of Sparksy and how the answer was to fuse in the end. The pieces have been set, but it's unknown where the tracks are leading. There is, however, something for certain. That is connected regardless of which track the train takes. Sampo will not be making it out of this in one piece. Sampo is created in the image of his Finnish origin, the Sampo, a magical device that grants wealth. In this particular setting, I'll be referring to it as a world tree. Banyan trees are referenced multiple times inside of the game, particularly Belobog and Planarcadia. The banyan tree notably is described as what the world tree looks like, and it's been that way for 2,500 years. And just like the Sampo, grants wealth in the form of health, used to treat more than 20 disorders. In Belobog, however, it has a different name, the Zombie General, an ever-growing dead banyan tree, one that grows only to share its resources to the people, one that is rotting and the corpse is feeding those it shelters. The Sampo, just like this world tree, eventually died, lost to the sea or hidden where it cannot be used. Sampo, just like his namesake, talks suspiciously a lot about death, only in the form of burning out and turning into ash. Once during the permanent museum event and twice during the 4.0 update, when he was last seen. Oddly recent, especially considering by Zongshan's own words, the only way to destroy a mask is for the fool to be reduced to ashes. This not only does not bode well for Sampo, but also both theories. Either way, Sampo is going to enter a situation where he must be reduced to ashes, and we can only wait anxiously until then. Let me know what you think about this, and if you have any further evidence that either agrees or disagrees, I'd be glad to hear it. That'll be all. Good night.